Welcome back to Overtly Critical. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Corwin.
And this week we watched
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, starring Tim Blake Nelson, Liam Neeson, Harry Melling, Tom Waits, Bill Heck, Zoe Kazan, Brendan Gleeson, Saul Rubinek, and Tyne Daly.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs contains 6 short stories taking place in the West about a singing cowboy, a bank robber, a disabled orator, a gold prospector, a woman dealing with the baggage of her dead brother, and a diverse trio traveling in a stagecoach, all of whom share similar fates and lives. Your pick.
That was my pick.
This is a Coen Brothers movie. We love The Big Lebowski.
Big fans here.
And I couldn't finish No Country for Old Men.
I didn't get it, but it was very good.
You had seen it before, so maybe just go over what you thought.
I saw this when it came out in 2018 because it was a Netflix original, and I had liked the Coen Brothers' other works, and I didn't realize it was a vignette. I thought it was just going to be about Buster Scruggs, or was going to be more connected to that character. But I was pleasantly surprised. Joey actually said when we were watching this that he felt it kind of emulated this old style of anthologies that they would write, The Ransom of Red Chief is
it's like a collection of short stories, which they do present the movie in a book starting, which is kind of a classic
thing.
And
2 of these are actually based off short stories from that time, The Girl Who Got Rattled and All Gold Canyon.
I was excited because I was like, ooh, I like the idea of an anthology. I'm a big guy about how to tell a story. It's very interesting to me. Even though I don't think I totally love this movie, it is probably one of my least favorite genres, but I think it actually managed to be the strong suit of the movie, which is interesting to me because I'm not a big fan of Westerns, despite the fact I wrote a screenplay that's kind of a Western, but whatever. So really compelling and interesting characters, which the Coen brothers are good at doing that.
I know they love doing Westerns. All of their movies are Western in some form.
Right? I mean, even the beginning, even Sam Elliott narrates.
Big Lebowski. Set in California. Even though even though it's the South, it's got a Western feel to it.
Going along with the idea that that's a Western, I think one thing we can talk about this movie, which isn't really spoilery, is kind of like the visuals of the movie. I really like the use of wide shots in the movie. And I found out that this movie was mainly filmed with this the same 27mm lens.
27 millimeters?
Yeah, so
wow.
To me, it's just, I think Westerns are really good at the wide shot.
I also really liked the color used in these movies because you had said that one thing you don't like about Westerns is that you feel they're very dull in the color choice, especially I've seen a lot of the spaghetti Westerns like Fistful of Dollars. It's just the color brown and gray of the movie, and it's nice to see you get this really cold tone in Meal Ticket, the third one. In All Gold Canyon, it's these warm colors because it's this it's this luscious valley. I was really struck in the second one with the bank robber. It's this, everything's this really lovely teal and not even an orange, almost more of a gold. And it's just gorgeous color throughout. Even
if you don't find the stories necessarily interesting, I think that the Coen brothers made a lot of memorable characters visually as well as how they act and talk. Why don't we rank the vignettes?
In order, we have The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Near Algonades, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Then we have Meal Ticket, All Gold Canyon, The Girl Who Got Rattled, and The Mortal Remains.
My least favorite was The Girl Who Got Rattled.
Yep.
Cool.
Same.
My number 5 was Meal Ticket.
Really? My number 5 was The Mortal Remains.
Okay. My number 4 was The Mortal Remains.
My number 4 would be My number 4 would be Near Algonades.
Okay. My number 3 is All Gold Canyon.
Same.
Excellent. My number 2 is Near Algodones.
My number 2 would be Meal Ticket, and I guess we agree on our number 1 is
The Ballad of
Buster Scruggs. It's the title for a reason.
Yeah,
it's so freaking good. You can make an entire movie out of it.
So the first one is called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Who would have known? I think this one was a lot of fun.
To me, it is just it's so funny, not just in the not just in some of the jokes, but also the dialogue.
Oh yeah,
the Coen brothers are great at writing witty dialogue. I think my personal favorite is in the song that Scruggs sings. He says, "Surly Joe with a Sadia on the sea of Curly Joe," and in the credits of the movie, they say it's spelled Surly Joe with a Sadia under the sea.
I think some of the visual styles are actually the best in this one. I mentioned, the first note of the whole movie, putting the camera in the guitar. Awesome.
Yep.
And it's also fourth wall breaking. He kind of he's it's a narration, but also a fourth wall kind of thing.
Scruggs he's a cartoon character come to life. He's basically Bugs Bunny. And just like what he can do. He is so absurd and I love it. The fact that he can the mirror is maybe my second favorite. It's my second favorite moment. It's so good.
Well, maybe we should specify. He is the singing cowboy in the log line. He's just got this attitude. He just doesn't care. He's better than everybody. He just walks into a saloon and he owns the place.
I describe him as like a chaotic neutral character.
Yeah.
If you're going D&D alignment.
Sure. Sure, Corwin.
We're going,
Although I didn't know if this would continue in the rest of them, but I wrote it's like a pseudo musical.
2 songs?
Yeah.
3 songs. There's 3 songs.
Right. The beginning, after he kills Mr. Krabs, and then after he dies. So I think that was the second saloon he went into, and he what is Mr. Krabs' name?
Surly Joe.
It is Surly Joe. Okay. That's a great scene.
I friggin' when I first saw this, and every time I've seen it since, I die laughing when he slams down on the table with his spur and makes the guy just very cartoonishly shoot himself.
Oh, it's so unexpected too.
It's so good.
And it's also this thing too where it's like, even compared to how serious the other parts of the movie take death, they're all just dancing around this dismantled face of this man with his eyeballs popping out.
I think part of the humor of this segment is that Scruggs is a complete cartoon character and otherwise a very grounded Western setting. His design is based off like the Gene Autry type singing cowboy character. You take that archetype and put him in a spaghetti Western. I will say I'm kind of baffled why they didn't just write a full movie around it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that I was
because you
for.
easily could.
Yeah, I mean, I also just wrote in some ways it's very much like this part of the movie felt like a bit of a parody of westerns, not necessarily like shitting on the genre because it pays homage to it. But it's very aware of itself. He finally faces somebody that
faces another cartoon character.
Yeah,
the Man in Black. It's the white hat cowboy versus the black hat cowboy, and it's like the account. No, bam.
Yeah.
And just, I love the subtle twitch in Tim Blake Nelson's eye. And he slowly takes off the hat. It's like he hasn't realized he's been shot yet.
Right. Yeah, that's also another very cartoon thing as well. It's like, and then his narration continues after he's dead, which actually made me think he was going to come back to life.
The freaking wings up.
Yeah,
heaven.
and then
it's so goofy. I love it.
I thought it was a little stupid, but
it's earned.
Trades his spurs for wings or something like that. I don't know. I thought it was fun.
It's such a fun time.
Near Algodones or
Algonades,
the bank robber or the Pan Man. Yeah, we'll call it the Pan Man.
Sure.
Might even be the shortest.
It feels the shortest.
We have James Franco who, he sees a bank. So the thing I actually really like about this one, and that's why I have it second. I like the scenes. I like the fact that it's like this big nothingness and this one little bank in the middle of nowhere. It's like all too perfect.
And they also with the one tree that he gets hung from.
Yes.
Where they try to hang him from.
Okay.
I think this one might have my favorite cinematography of the group. It's just really the lighting as well. I said with the color scheme.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about with the center framing of like these of the tree and the soul locations.
He gets into this bank and it's the bank teller guy, whatever we're gonna call him.
Bank teller. Yeah.
He's a very like awkward dude, and it's kind of a really long drawn out conversation. And finally James Franco's like, "Okay, I'm here to rob you."
And he literally he says, "Is this your bank?" And then eventually the guy keeps yapping, I just pulls a gun out on him.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, he's like, "Okay, I'll get the big notes." I think he says down here, and then he has this whole like 3 set up like shotguns just under there. They shoot right under the counter. Then he eventually goes out to the back, and then all of a sudden, the bank teller comes back out with
a
like,
shotgun and covered in pots and pans.
And he got shot. Didn't James Franco shoot him like 3
it
times?
Just bounces off.
Yeah, and then that leads to James Franco at the tree. He's about to be hanged. There are these guys that are hanging him, and there's arguing about who's going to get his horse and things like that. It's just kind of goofy banter. So this big group of Native Americans come, and then, I mean, they pretty much outnumber these 5 people that are trying to hang James Franco. So they
slaughter him.
Yeah, they massacre him, and then like, I guess we can assume it's the chief, kind of just like rides right up to James Franco, and they just kind of like looks at him,
spooks his horse, and then the horse starts
slowly
walking to get more food as the hours pass, and the rope gets more taut and taut.
This is one of the other reasons I like this one so much. Similar to how the bank is very it's a very set up situation. This is another one where it's just a really good piece of drama where it's like, oh, this is bad. It's just getting worse. It's getting tighter. And then actually some guy comes who's like herding some, what is he, herding cattle or something? I forget what he's doing.
It appears that he's, herding cattle, and then it's realized that he has rustled these cows. And we come to the ending. After all this, after he gets out of all these situations, he finally dies by getting like accused of something he genuinely didn't do.
Yes.
And it's just so sudden he has no power over it. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. And then there's the funny bit. First
time, the meme. That's where the meme comes from.
It's hilarious.
I don't get the thing with the girl in the blue dress.
No, I don't either.
I have no idea what that was supposed to mean.
Again, I like it just because I think three really specific scenes that I found were pretty interesting and had really cool sets. So, and it was the shortest. Meal ticket. Okay. This one is about this, I don't know what you'd call him.
An orator.
I originally thought that this was like, before he started talking, I thought it was going to be like a freak show kind of thing because he has no arms and legs. So I thought that would be the point of entertainment. But it actually, I guess that's kind of a novelty of him as a character. And he's just giving all of these different speeches. Like he's telling random stories. I think there's a biblical one.
It's very important that he tells the tale of Cain and Abel because it's very thematic. There's a lot of parallels between that story and this story. The guy, the orator, who is a very disabled man in a time where there's not a lot of support for people who are that disabled. He's got this guy, Liam Neeson's character, who takes care of him, literally feeds him, carries him around, operates the setup for him, and just, takes a cut of it.
They're going like town to town, whatever, kind of doing their show, and they get less and less of a crowd and less money every
It's a
time.
slow decline of their success.
Yep. Liam Neeson is he's a business guy. This is what he's doing. And then he sees that everyone's more interested in this, like...
It's a chicken that does math. It's so weird, but it's the kind of thing that people people do it today, even at carnivals.
Then he decides, oh, great, new business venture. I'm going to buy... I think he just... Does he just buy the whole thing?
Buys the chicken and the whole setup.
Yep. And then he,
throws the order into a river.
Yep.
I love this one because of just how much is set up between these two characters with basically no dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because one of the characters is an orator, but basically they never talk to each other.
There's some singing. I think Liam Neeson sings a couple times.
Yeah, and he talks to the prostitute when they go to the whorehouse, which, man, what a great jump cut. Of, like, they turn around, and it's like this, and then, like, they jump cut to later, and it's just like...
Yeah.
That's scarring. No one should should be subjected to that.
And this might have just been the where they were staying in the woods, but it looked like there were Dutch tilts on a lot of the shots.
I didn't notice that.
And there was also a lot of green tone in the lighting, which kind of made me think of like, oh, this character is like sick and worn down, kind of.
This one really stuck with me, and that's why I like it, because it is so dark and upsetting, the ending. And you see the decline, and you feel like you want to just, like, help these characters, and you can't, and it just seems inevitable by the end of it.
All Gold Canyon.
After the absolute depression fest that is Meal Ticket, we get a breath of fresh air.
I mean, like I said, he's a gold prospector. He's looking in the river for gold, and he's trying to dig and find exactly where the vein is. Finally, after many days, I don't want to brush over that. He's spending a couple of days and nights there. He finally gets underground. He finds the vein of gold. He's getting these like giant
Mr. Pocket.
Yeah, oh God, he calls it Mr. Pocket of gold.
I love it.
He gets these nuggets and he gets these big chunks, and then somebody's behind him and finds it.
I love the setup that you see like just a brief shadow.
Oh,
and he looks and he just pauses.
It waits so long too.
And then we see the shot moves and we see the guy up above him, shoots him. And man, what great tension in that climax.
Yeah, because also then there's another pause when he's kind of playing dead.
He survives and he beats the crap out of the guy, shoots him. He's like, oh, you didn't hit anything, went straight through. I like this one a lot.
A couple notes that I had just about his character. He's very connected to nature, I feel like. And there's this, Mr. Pocket. He feels like he has like a relationship with all of it. And also at the owl nest. And he took these eggs, but like... He
gives them all back but one when he sees the owl watching him.
He keeps one, and to me it's very much like he's making a compromise with nature sort of thing.
It's very clear that he's a very patient person. He is totally willing to just stick it out for the long haul to get the prize in the end. He's like, he's not greedy either. Like, he doesn't like take all the little nuggets of gold he finds because he knows that if he's patient, he's going to get the payoff. The antagonist of this, the younger man who's been stalking him for days, is also very patient, but not patient enough, because if he was really smart, he would have shot the rest of the bullets in him right there and made sure he was pretty damn dead. It's a great twist. It's a very shocking surprise. We're like, whoa.
It is a positive attitude story. It's this guy he's a hard worker, and after getting shot, he finally gets what he worked for. But then there is that weird thing about, like, again, this whole connection with nature, how like all the animals go away when he comes there, and then when he leaves, they all come back. I don't know if I totally get it, but I thought it was entertaining at least, and he's probably my favorite character in the movie.
Yeah, Tom Waits does a great performance, and he's a great musician. It's great to hear him sing in this role. Oh yeah, this is the only one where the main character doesn't die.
This is our both of our least favorites. The Girl Who Got Rattled, I believe it's called.
The second one based off an actual short story.
I think this might be one of the longest too.
It certainly feels very long.
It's about this girl.
Well, they're on the Oregon Trail.
But then her brother has this cough.
Great setup in the beginning.
Right.
This boarding house, and they're like, oh, this man had a cough, and this one was like, it was not a contagious cough. I don't lend to those things. And then we hear the brother coughing. It's like, oh, guess it was. It's revealed later that the money that they were going to pay their like servant boy who's like helping them move was they left on her brother's body when they buried it.
Yeah,
so
they're not walking back to where they buried him.
She's totally screwed.
Right. So then the main characters in this are her dog, which I didn't understand the significance of really, other than maybe like an attachment. And then there's Billy Knapp, who's one of like the leaders of this sort of trail migration, and then there's someone
Mr. Arthur.
Mr. Arthur's kind
like
of
the
above him.
The old guy who has been doing this for years and years.
Oh, I don't have this money. And then Billy Knapp's like, oh, I'll help you. And then the next thing he's like, oh, I'll just marry you.
No.
Because she had a marriage that was going to be set up, I think, in Oregon.
Yeah, well,
she thinks it might
maybe
be a lie.
they were hoping for that.
Oh, okay.
And Billy Knapp not only does like he want to help her, but also he's like, I don't want to keep doing this the rest of my life, because he sees Mr. Arthur and is like, that's not this isn't the life I want.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, what a fucking depressing ending.
Yeah, I felt like the ending came out of nowhere, but
yeah, I mean, you thought Meal Ticket was bad. This one's worse.
Her name's Alice, the girl. That wasn't what she went by. That was her full name, I think. She's like gone off the trail, and like her dog is like
comes back.
Yeah, because Billy Knapp didn't actually kill the dog; it just ran away because people were annoyed by the dog. So he's like, we got to get rid of the dog because the travelers hate him.
That was a weird moment to me, because when I first saw this, I initially thought that moment was Billy pretending that he didn't kill the dog, like to let her down easier, and was like shoots it once and like fires a few other times, like, oh. Yeah, it ran away. Didn't have to actually kill your dog, but then it does come back. It's like, oh,
she's with the dog, and there's like these prairie dogs, and her dog is like her dog's President Pierce, which is named after the president at the time, I believe, Franklin Pierce. So her dog's like, oh, look at these prairie dogs. She thinks it's the cutest thing ever. Mr. Arthur's like, all right, where is this lady? She's off the path. We gotta go bring her back.
Native Americans, and they ain't friendly.
It's this very haunting thing where he's like, all right, we're outnumbered.
I do love that shot where she's like, oh, it's just one.
Yeah.
The rest come over. It's like, oh, fuck.
So he kind of holds him off the best he can, but at the beginning he gives her a gun, and he says, if it looks like we're screwed and I'm dead, just kill yourself, basically.
Well, he drives him away.
He does pretty well, and then there's like this one sneak attack where he was like hanging off the horse, which is kind of like a jump
Clubs
scare.
him in the head.
It's kind of fun. He fell on the ground, and then I guess she was like, oh, he's dead, so she shoots herself, but he's not dead. Was he playing dead, or was he just?
He was playing dead. He was playing dead so that the Native American would come close to him, and they shoots him right before he scalps him. So. And I just don't. Yeah. And I don't get it, man.
I will say this: the ending, I think, has like the thing. It's like, oh, now he has to tell Billy Knapp. He doesn't know what to say to him. I kind of like the ending of that because you don't need to see that to know how bad that's going to be. And it kind of leaves you with this like, oh, we get it. We know what he has to say now.
The dialogue is good. It's good acting. It's beautifully shot.
Good lighting too, with like the nighttime.
Yeah, the story is written well, except the ending. It's a downer.
The last story is called "The Mortal Remains," which features, I think, Saul Rubinek is his name.
Yeah.
Using True Romance. This one's interesting. It kind of just throws us into a situation where we're in this like stagecoach with
this Frenchman, a very well-to-do, rich, upper-class woman, and a trapper.
Yeah.
And they're in a car with these two, it's revealed, are bounty hunters.
Right.
And there's a body up top, and there's a mysterious man driving the stagecoach.
Right. Basically, the whole thing is like all of these people are kind of like a bad match for each other, and they get into this argument.
About, like, it wasn't like how the right way to live your life.
It was mainly about love. He was talking about how like the woman's husband might not even love her, but then like the other guy was like, "Oh no, I had an encounter once," and that guy was hilarious. He wouldn't shut up.
We all know a guy like the Trapper.
Yeah, he's great, but he was like, "No, I loved a woman," and it's just this big dumb argument.
You get this supernatural feeling as it grows on, and basically what this is to me is these guys are dead. They are being brought to the underworld.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of the way it looks with how it's lit, and even like the set.
The coachman, you never see his face.
Right, but also
he never stops. They say.
Yeah, it's like very kind of expressionist too when they get out of the thing. So yeah, I was thinking maybe this is kind of like a supernatural.
I think it's a great way to end the anthology. The two bounty hunters really remind me of the two people from Meal Ticket. And just like one of them is an Irishman who sings. Another one is talking a lot. He even like kind of his hair kind of looks like the Orator. And like they clearly have like a past together. Almost like a hint of like in the afterlife they've like, I don't know, reconciled. I don't think it's intentionally meant to be one-to-one. And I don't think that, but I think it's a fair read of it.
It's an interesting thought.
But I also love that there's other little hints that make you feel this, that gives us the supernatural feeling. I'm talking about like how, oh, we've done this many times. He sings this every time, and it always makes me cry. He stops for no one. And one of the last moments you see, other than like the stairway that looks like it's going up to heaven, is you see the stagecoach driver turn around and go back. And it's like an abyss outside. I love it. It's foggy. It's just like these lines of dead trees.
Right. I didn't get the point of this one other than maybe trying to kind of round up or tie up what the other five are supposed to be about.
I think that is the point.
So I guess considering that, we can just get into what we think it's all about. I liked my second idea better. It's like the idea of a lifestyle coming to an end, because all these people, I guess with the exception of the girl, sort of have a defined like profession or way of life. But then again, that would only apply to three of them, because the gold guy doesn't die and she doesn't necessarily have a profession. So I mean, to say it's about death is really too simple to me, because I think it's more complicated than that, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
It is about death, but like each death is almost like a different kind of death in literature. Buster Scruggs is kind of like a very comedic death. The second one is a very like ironic death. It's like after all this,
But you could lump that in as comedic too.
you could. They're both the first two are both somewhat comedic, whereas the third one is it's very depressing. Then the next one, I still see it as about death because this old man kills the younger man, but he's still old. He's going to die. He did achieve what he wanted before he died, and it still fits in with the theme. The next one is just, another fuck you. I don't have a lot to say about the fifth one. It's so depressing. And the last one does nicely tie those all together, kind of reflecting on death and life. It's very clear they wanted to make a movie about Buster Scruggs, and then they kind of fit these in more to not really pad out the runtime, but to create like just a greater theme in the story. And I think it works. It's not the deepest point, but it is just very much about death.
This is a really hard line for me to define, because I don't like being spoon-fed things. I like to be able to read into things, but I also don't like when things get to the point where they are unreadable. And I think this movie pushes a little too much towards that, where it's like every explanation is a stretch in a way. That's what I feel with this movie. I feel like you could have removed at least two of these and made it more solid and made it more concise. But within them, even if I didn't love all of them, I think there was good acting, there was interesting characters, and there were some pretty interesting situations.
I genuinely think, especially after a discussion, that it's not about some grand point about death. I think it's just wanting to tell some good, solid stories, and they're tied together by theme. And I think that's what an anthology movie should be at the end of the day.
And I just think the theme is too loose, but that's okay.
Welcome back to the sounds of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. My name's Dan. How y'all doing? The outside attack scene, I personally feel, was using multiple omnidirectional microphones, as when you film something outside, unless you're like near a bunch of buildings in a city, there's like no reflective surfaces at all. And to capture every single sound out there, that would have been the footsteps, sand being pounded, horses, people screaming, and while there are some overdubs of obvious sound effects like knife sounds, blades, and arrows, you can't really capture all the nice reflections that give it not a super dead, dry feeling. From the entirety of Act 3, you could tell that this was going to be a very, very sad story. Folk songs about murder appear in this scene, and pretty deep feeling for a dark story. Now for Act 4 from All Gold Canyon. Good cutting action on the sounds. No music so far seems to lead that like nothing big is going to happen emotionally, which is true. All the guy does is go around and dig in holes trying to find the gold pocket, and eventually the good music catches up to you once he actually finds the pocket. Obviously the theme's going to change. The moment the shadow comes in and the theme goes dark, something is behind him that's dangerous, and that's a good theme giveaway. The coughing plus the theme build up to the fact that the brother was going to die was sort of obvious, which is good because you want your audience to feel that sort of musical connection when something bad's about to happen. Really good thing to include with the guitar as it's coming up, 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 and bam, next scene. And in Act 6, The Mortal Remains, man, this was cool. And unfortunately, I play games with various themes like this. The musical overtones starting to come in. The soft song that the second carriage rider starts singing and eventually gets sadder and sadder. The fact that all this comes together, it's pretty clear in my mind, aside from the corpse on the top of the roof, they're just dead or about to be. Deadly scary theme along with silence. It's these two methods of getting the attention of the audience that makes the scene so much more scary, especially imagine this in like IMAX. So this has been sounds of The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Not the greatest movie of all time. I did like it. Anyway, back to the show.
For me, this is a great movie to look at for environmental shots. The way they shoot the environment and present it is not just making it look gorgeous, but making it look powerful and big. Westerns in general, the environment has always been very important because the idea of, taming the land in a very, Manifest Destiny sense is just always been tied to the idea of the American West. Iconic view of the West in Buster Scruggs and near Argonautas to, some more, varied views like All Gold Canyon, Meal Ticket, and The Girl Who Got Rattled, which is, the iconic Oregon Trail. It paints a gorgeous, connected picture of the landscape of the West and also shows how powerful this land is over the people who live in it.
Because it has 6 stories, I think this taught me how to explore all aspects of a genre. What's possible within a genre. But you get the cowboy, you get, your Native Americans in there, you get your different environments, but you also get a gold rush kind of, I say gold rush, it's kind of after that, in timeline. You get a gold rush story, you get a migration trail story, you get I called it a freak show, even though it's not really, but you get this kind of business person. You get so many different perspectives of the West that I think it's better than a lot of these just the town's too big for both of us or too small for both of us kind of bullshit.
This town ain't big enough for the two of us.
It's not like your fucking Clint Eastwood movies. I'm not saying he's a bad filmmaker, but it throws a spin on the genre, which is what I like about Tarantino's Western movies. I liked this movie. I don't want to give anyone the impression that I didn't like this movie. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't want to go any farther than that.
Solid. I honestly, I picked it, but I'd say the same.
Hello, welcome to Funny Notes, where guilt-free comes closer and closer every day. The title that I've slowly progressively given up is just called Dirty Scrubby on Bed. The stories my dad has at my camp. That's literally what this movie is. America before capitalism. Plus music video. Auntie Corwin? Pew, 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 pew.
He actually hits.
Buster Scruggs! foundation of America. Man, the banks really can't fail. Funny, haha, internet culture, ha ha ha. Meal ticket. Why is it 13 meals only? Why isn't it 14?
Damn it.
Dumb believes Shakespeare is relevant. Native land is my land. No gold? Just make a TV show out of it. Real life Oregon Trail on the NES. This is a short end to the Wizard of Oz.
Holy shit.
Oh my gosh.
The sixth one's Ryan's favorite because he just likes a lot of talking. Dan's second is the favorite because he likes internet meme culture. Corwin's favorite's number 3 because it's sad. All Girls' favorite is part 5. And me, proud American gold digger. We get those gold diggers. This is the true spirit of America. Hey, last note. This movie is 100% inaccurate because women actually are the backbone of the Western society. It was women who got the right to vote because the West wanted to vote. Because guess what? Those prostitutes, they were doing good shit. Women were the founders of these towns. Women are the backbone of the Western society, and these movies are bullshit.
So I guess we can pick for not next week.
That's right.
Because we're taking another break again.
We're taking a break because, you know, we're a bunch of college students and we're spring break's coming up. All right.
All right.
Here we are.
We're all set up.
Movie time.
What is 1 and what is 4?
Say that's 1 and that's 4.
I don't know if anyone's picked a 4 yet. What are we going to watch in 2 weeks?
Oh boy, cue the drum roll.
Dude, if we get the movie I just put in here, I'm going to be... And we're watching finally, which was, I think this is your We Have to Do It This Season movie, Dark Star.
This was the first movie I picked when Ryan came to me and said, "Do you want to do a podcast?"
Good thing I watched Alien first.
Yeah.
All right, so until then, whenever this comes out, this movie is a week, or sorry, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, whatever the fuck that's going to be.
We'll get to it eventually.
We're going to get to Dark Star, so thank you all for watching, and we'll see you
Bye-bye.
next time.